local lawmakers here today. Have you had a chance to talk with them about this proposal, and how come they weren't able to come today, and were they going to? Or?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Like Senator Reisinger, Senator Kaler, Representative Leach. I mean, are they on board with what you're proposing here as far as avoiding this income tax?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd like to touch upon what you were just talking about, the need to bring everybody together to try to get beyond this idea that nobody's willing to give up anything. Wouldn't it be fair to say that the municipalities should be willing to give up a little bit, 1%, as opposed to not wanting to give up the 3% at all, to get beyond this? Nobody willing to give up anything? No.
Certainly. I think they can speak to it because they live this every day. I'd like to make a comment, but then allow someone to come up to speak specifically to that issue. But I do believe that our municipalities have made some significant cuts. I know the one that was obviously the most public was what the city of Peoria went through during last year, taking the painstaking time and energy to go literally line by line to see where they could make cuts, where they could make efficiencies. Mayor Artis has already indicated that there were 77 layoffs within the city of Peoria, and efficiencies and cost cutting. So there has been some skin in the game as it relates to the city of Peoria, Peoria Heights, West Peoria, Village of Bartonville. So all of these men that stand behind me today have made some painstaking cuts in the past. But if someone would like to step forward and talk about some of the things that you all have given up in the past, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Representative Gordon. I think your elegance and eloquence in this subject is so important to all of us here. The County of Peoria, I serve on the Finance Committee with a few other members, Member Harding. We reduced our budget by $9 million last year, and that was not without reduction in things that matter to people. And whether or not the state chooses to shift burdens to other parties unintentionally or deliberately, our local government is doing about 78 jobs this year in the County of Peoria. Many of those at the jail, many of those at the Sheriff's Department, many of those in our judicial system, many of those in all the core service functions of other elected officials, the clerk, the recorder, the auditor. Those jobs and positions had no role in the 2010 fiscal plan because we had to find $9 million, and that $9 million was reduced permanently. So I appreciate Representative Gordon's efforts here, and I salute you in your continuing effort to say no to the governor.
Andrew, were those cuts a direct result of cuts in state funding, or just due to the overall economy?
Like most of the governments I joined here today, the revenue streams that we experienced last year were called economic revenue streams: income tax, personal property replacement tax, another really big one here in the local community, sales tax. And so most of what made up our $9 million that the County of Peoria had to do with consumption-driven taxes or taxes that are based on the fluctuations in economic revenues.
Are there any early projections right now as far as what you guys might be facing budgetarily wise this coming year? Deficit wise, or along those lines?
Somebody already has dealt us a $900,000 to a $1 million blow, as Chairman O'Neill is suggesting here, should the governor's budget prevail. We'll know end of March, 1st to April, what the very first numbers we need to know about the projections Eric Bush, our Chief Financial Officer, made this year, how that's going to pan out for 2010. So we're all holding our breath on that subject. I'm confident that Mr. Bush is right. I think a lot of other indicators that we've seen suggest his crystal ball for 2010 is going to be correct, but we're still holding our breath.
Chairman O'Neill, you suggested that this cut would mean, did you say 22 full-time equivalent positions, an additional 22?
Yes, 22 full-time with benefits.
And these would be job cuts, not early retirements, because the county made up most of your job cuts through early retirements, correct?
We did last year, but as everyone else behind me here, we're looking at tough times for this year again. And we were able to go without layoffs last time, but I don't know what we're going to do this time, especially with some of this being passed down on us with everything else we have on our plate already.
So outright cuts.
Right,
22 outright cuts.
all right, guys. Thank you.
I do not want to appear that we are not willing to do our fair share. When was the last time the state of Illinois met their requirements for education funding, or probation officer funding, or the hundreds of other unfunded mandates that Springfield shoves down local communities' throats? When they will step up and meet their requirements, I'll meet them halfway. But my opinion is, the state of Illinois, by bad example, has led us into this abyss. Why should we, at township, county, and city levels, stand for this, and we have to draw the line someplace? So please don't think we're unwilling to help. We've already given blood, sweat, and tears as it is. State needs to lead by example, and they're not doing it.
Mayor Ardis, any early projections from the city right now without these cuts that you guys might be facing? I mean, I think a $5 million deficit number was tossed out right after the budget session last year, and I'm just curious if that's been changed.
Let me just say, not to deflect from the focus on Representative Gordon's press conference here, and we can speculate on that. We're looking at that number is not going to be reduced. The fourth quarter early projections are not looking real strong, so we won't be looking at anything less than that number right now. We'll as one of the electeds said, we'll have a better idea on that first part of April, this fourth quarter.
Is that sufficient? Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.